Hello, today we're going to show you how you can use liquid code snippets to update product data in Shopify. For this example, we'll be setting the cost of different variants to be a certain percentage of the price based on the specific vendor that the variant belongs to. In our test store here, we can see we have some different vendors like hydrogen vendor, snowboard vendor, and those will be the values that we'll be using for our tests. So first we'll go over to automations, code snippets, and create a new code snippet. You can combine lots of different modifications within a single code snippet, but we'll just call this one cost to keep it simple. Once you've created the code snippet, on the left you have a place where you can write the code in Liquid, and then on the right you're able to select the product and preview it against the code that you're running. So for example, we can output the product's title. Here we'll do a search for one of the products, preview it, and we can see that as of now the code did not modify any product data, but if we look in the debug output, we do see that the title of the product is listed. Now to make modifications, we just use the assign operator in Liquid, so that would look like this. Then if we were to preview this, we wouldn't see any output because nothing's being printed out. But if we go to modifications, we would see that the product's title is set to new title. And in this case, because there's a change to the product, the old value would be this and the new title would be that. Now for this specific case, we're going to modify the cost field. So the first thing we'll do is we'll loop through the variants within the product. So we can say, for variant in product.variance, we'll print out the cost field. One thing to note is that in standard Liquid, the cost field is not available, but it's something that we've added to make it easier to edit throughout the app. So within the bulk product editor code snippets, you can use the cost field normally. If we look here, we see that there's no cost set, so it's blank. So for a simple assignment, we could say variant.cost is equal to variant.price. Oops, we would do assign. And if we were to run that, then we would see the cost becomes 1,025, and we see that this value would be set. Now, in our case, what we want to do is we want to do some math with this. So first we need a lookup table of the different vendors and the ratio that we'll use to increase the cost value. So we can use, what we'll do is we'll use the capture Liquid syntax to load the data into a structure, and then we'll loop through that structure and see if the vendor matches, and if it does, we will set the value for that price. So we'll say capture data raw, and then there's different ways we can structure this. We'll use JSON, so we can say I think it's hydrogen, and we'll say maybe 1.2 times the price. I think the other one was snowboard vendor. Oops. And that will be, we'll say 1.4 times the price. And oops. So this loads this string into the variable data raw, and now we'll want to parse this into a JSON object. So we can say assign lookup is equal to data raw, and then we'll use this parse JSON filter that we have. And then if we were to print out the lookup data, we'll see the values here load into a dictionary or object that we can look up the different values for. Looks like there's an extra space there, so we'll delete that. One other thing, just as far as keyboard shortcuts go, is I'm using Control Enter or Command Enter when I'm typing to trigger a preview. So that makes it a little bit faster to go back and forth and update these. So now we have that. So now we need to modify our variant loop. So what we can do here is within the variant, actually, we're going to loop through the values in the, actually we'll call this lookups. So we'll say for lookup and lookups, and then just to make things easier, we can assign the vendor is the first value, so the hydrogen, and then assign ratio is equal to lookup. So at this point we have vendor ratio. We do that. We see here hydrogen vendor is 1.2, snowboard vendor is 1.4. Okay. So then we just need to check that if the products vendor is equal to vendor, then we'll go through and update all the variants. And we'll bring this over here, just indent it so it's a little bit easier to see. And so we're saying if the vendor matches, then we'll loop through each variant and set the cost to be the variant price. We'll use the times filter for the ratio, and then for debugging we can print these out, preview it. Okay, and then we see that for this specific one the price is 1025 and the cost would be 1.2 times 1025. Going over to modifications, we see that the cost is set correctly, so it looks like at this point we've written some liquid code that will implement our custom logic, and we can use that to update the cost value. So there's a few ways we can use this. First of all, we'll go ahead and save the code snippet. Once it's saved, you can apply the code snippet to your existing products simply by going to Home, filtering for the products you want. So if you want to search for a specific vendor, you could do that. In our case, we'll just run it across all products. And then, so we'll go to Edit Products, Field to Edit, we'll go down, choose Actions, we'll choose our code snippet, and then we'll see a preview down here below. And for some products where the vendor doesn't match, it will be skipped, but then other products will have the value set based on their vendor. So if this looks good, we would just click Run Edit, and this liquid code that we just wrote would be applied to all the different products in our Shopify store. Another way we can use these code snippets is through product rules, and these are edits that are triggered when the product is either updated or created within Shopify. This allows you to keep these rules enforced on your products in almost real time, as opposed to having to do a periodic update every day or so forth. To create a product rule, we would just go over here to Create Rule, and for the modification for the rule, we would look for our code snippet, which is the cost, and we'll add that, and then we'll say update. Call this like update cost based on vendor, and we'll have this run when either a product is updated or created, and we'll save the changes. So we can kind of see this in action now if we open up one of these products within Shopify. So we'll go ahead and open up this one product, and we see here that the vendor is hydrogen vendor. The price is 600 and there's no cost per item. What we can do in this case is we can change this to 610, save it, and then if we refresh the page, we'll see cost per item reflects the see that the job was run here. We'll see that the cost was set to $732. And if we refresh the page, we should see that cost show up correctly here. I realize now that the values are incorrect for the costs. In most cases, we want the cost to be lower than the price, or else we're not doing a good job with business. But we can change those if we need to here. We can go like that, save this, and then to fix these costs, we could do edit products, run the code snippet against our products, and we would see that these products are being updated now. It should just take a few seconds to go through these. And then again, if we reload here, we would see that the cost is now less than the price, which makes sense, and we're showing a profit with our 20% margin. So that's a couple of ways we can use the code snippets. If you look on our documentation at support.ablestar.com, we have a few other examples of different things you can do with these. And of course, if you have any questions or issues trying to get the code snippets to work, please let us know and we'll help you out.